Hi students, I'm Una.
And I'm Scott.
I'm a PTE teacher from the UK.
I'm also a PTE teacher from the UK.
And we've been helping students pass their exams for years.
And now we're excited to help you pass your exam too.
Welcome to the Swoosh English PTE podcast.
Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another PTE podcast here at Swoosh English. My name is Una.
And I'm Scott.
And today we are looking at repeat sentence within the speaking section of the PTE exam. So let's get straight into it.
Let's do it. Repeat sentence, a task that does seem to be quite simple on its outset, but there's lots of little itty-bitty features that we can talk about in detail in order to improve the three factors in the scoring.
Yeah, definitely. This is one that really sometimes causes a bit of controversy because students are like, oh, it really tests my memory.
Yeah.
You know?
If you've got great memory, fantastic. If not, take some omega-3 and 6.
Yes. So yeah, it does. It tests that working memory, as we call it. So that short-term memory that allows you to be able to carry out certain tasks.
And I think there's a lot of actually just training involved in that too. Short little steps that we take in a conscientious effort to improve our ability to perform well in this task.
Yeah,
so we should get into the
definitely.
task itself. So what exactly is repeat sentence?
So repeat sentence is a short answer type within the speaking section. And it's simply you will listen to a sentence that a speaker has spoken, and then you have to repeat back that sentence exactly as it was said.
So just to emphasize, repeat it back exactly in terms of the order, intonation, as well as pronunciation as
Exactly,
well. But
yes.
word order is very important as well as the content of the words.
Definitely.
too.
The sequencing of the word is very important for this task. So we will get about 10 to 12 different questions for this item type on the day.
So don't be too concerned. Yes, there are 10 to 12 different prompts, but they are quite short and you will get them through them quite quickly. That's just to put into example. 10 to 12 repeat sentences are probably about the same length, if not shorter than one describe image prompt, for example. They're very, very short and you can go through them in very rapid pace. But a lot of points are available for these two.
Very good. So then we have, there will be a 3-second countdown.
Yeah, let's go through the procedure of it.
Yeah, let's go through the timing of it. So there's a 3-second countdown and then the audio will begin. And the recording will be about 3 to 9 seconds long.
9 seconds maximum, about 3 seconds short. So that
Yeah.
means that some prompts will be longer than others and therefore maybe a little bit trickier too to recount the words especially.
Yeah, definitely. 3 to 9 seconds for the recording. And then unfortunately with repeat sentence, there is no tone.
No.
So you need to be alert and watching the screen, looking out for that blue recording symbol, and it will change and then you will know when you have to speak.
So that's the notion when you have to speak. So don't rest on your laurels. Don't zone out. Don't zone out at all.
Don't
But
zone
don't
out.
just think, okay, I'm waiting for that tone to play to indicate when I start speaking. No, you have to be aware about when that recording symbol changes to blue. And that's when you should start giving your answer after you've heard the recording.
Exactly, yeah. So begin then and you will have 15 seconds to answer.
Yes, 15 seconds in total, which is sufficient time to give your answer as well. So there's no need to rush for this task at all.
Yeah, but it's important to begin straight away, because you don't want to be cut off at the end.
Define what you mean by cut off, though.
So imagine that you were still speaking by the 15-second mark and then it stopped recording. You wouldn't get to complete your sentence.
That's true. And also you can be cut off in a second way as well. So for example, the 15 seconds begins for you to give your answer. You may have actually uttered maybe a few ums and ahs or started your response and then you pause for up to 3 seconds. What happens after that 3-second mark?
Then the recording will stop also.
The microphone will close. So there's 2 ways that you might not get your response fully finished. If you spend more than 15 seconds or there's a 3-second pause somewhere in your response.
Yeah, definitely
overall.
be careful about that awful 3-second pause rule. So that is a good overview then of the actual, the intricacies of the task.
The procedure of the task, yes. Shall we now talk a little bit about the scoring of the task?
Yeah, so the scoring of speaking tasks is very important. So we have 3 different areas that you are scored on in relation to repeat sentence and all speaking tasks. So we have our content, we have our pronunciation and oral fluency.
Yeah, so let's talk now a bit more about the intricacies of the 3 parts of the scoring for that task. So for content, you are scored a maximum of 3 points for each response. And there's actually a set procedure in how you get scored for content. If you want to get that maximum score of 3, then you have to have all words recited and in the correct order as well. That'll give you a top score of 3. For 2 points, you need to get at least 50% of the words in the correct order and corrects. What about for 1 point?
It is less than 50%. Yeah. So it is quite a big drop there, isn't it? Like 3 is all correct and then 2,
Exactly,
you could make a couple of mistakes and be still okay to get the 2.
And then if you get 0, you got 0 because you have pretty much nothing, almost nothing in accordance with the prompt itself. So obviously a bit of speculative language there from Pearson about what almost nothing is. Say, for example, your response is about 10 words. Maybe if you got 1 or 2 words correct, then you might get 0 or you might get 1. So it's between, maybe I say, approximately 10% to 50%. So make sure if you got a few words right, then you should get at least 1 point overall.
Yeah, but you should be able to get over 50% and therefore secure yourself with those 2 marks.
2 to 3 marks. Yeah.
So how can students really lose the points within content?
Within content, so if you obviously don't take down the words in order at all, or you actually make any replacements, omissions, or insertions of words too. So the emphasis is obviously not only on the correct words that has been said, but also having them in the correct order. So if you reformulate the sentence in any way, then you can lose easy marks for it.
Exactly. Having them in the correct sequence is very important. Yeah. And if you add words, and I think a lot, like, words that are commonly, added or taken away are those smaller words like articles and prepositions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're also, they might not be stressed in the sentence itself, but they are also equally important too.
Definitely.
So you do have to pay attention to the auxiliary information and the unstressed words.
Yeah, make sure,
All right, so that's content. Let's talk now about pronunciation. What should a student do in order to improve their score in pronunciation, which I must add is a maximum of 5?
Yes, so pronunciation is a maximum of 5 from, 0 being basically unable to understand and 5 being native-like.
Native-like. So not native, but native-like. You don't have to sound like a native speaker, but you should be quite similar to them in terms of the way they pronounce their words.
Exactly, yes. So basically, can you pronounce every word in the English language, or every sound, I should say, in the English language? So for this, you really need to listen to yourself, how you speak, or when you communicate with other speakers, are they able to understand everything you say? Or do they have difficulty with some of your syllables, some of your sounds? So can you pronounce every word? And it also considers your sentence stress or your word stress as well.
Yes, it does.
So with your word stress, that is, do you stress a certain syllable within the word? So a word with more than one syllable, which syllable do you stress?
Precisely.
Yeah. And then your sentence stress is stressing which word do you stress within the sentence. So these things are very important and will affect your pronunciation score.
Good.
Okay, and then what about oral fluency? What different factors can we consider here?
So once again, oral fluency is scored out of 5, 5 being native-like and 0 being completely unfluent in your answer. So when it comes to your oral fluency, you want to ensure that you speak at a nice constant rate, a nice steady pace, but you're not sounding you're not clearly robotic in terms of delivery. You're pausing where is appropriate and you're taking breaks where is appropriate. And also that there's no hesitations or false starts either. You want to ensure that your response is flowing from beginning to end as smooth as possible. So as I said, any false starts, any hesitations, or any awkward or unnatural pauses.
Maybe like thought fillers, like
and ahs as well will take away from your oral fluency.
Yeah, so really listen to how you speak and notice those different habits that you maybe have when you speak.
And even native speakers have these habits too. Yeah. So
where I come from, people always say like
right now,
just constantly throughout their speech, and that wouldn't sound very good, definitely not in an academic sense anyway.
So of course there's a little bit of leeway when it comes to oral fluency. If you do obviously have the occasional and ah, or maybe there's a slightly long pause, don't worry about it too much. It's only if it sounds unnatural, but there's unnatural pauses and maybe there's stuttering and there's stammering. False starts and hesitations are frequent.
Try and avoid those.
But once again, don't forget it's native-like, not native. And of course, natives itself do make the occasional error.
Okay, and then we can think about intonation. So intonation is very important. That's considering the rise and fall of your voice. That sing-song that we refer to in the English language when we go up and down, up and down.
Especially where we come from too. We are known to sing as we speak.
Yeah, definitely. So it's very important to consider your overall intonation. And of course, with repeat sentence, you can simply listen very carefully to the intonation of the speaker and repeat back as they said.
That's a great point, because unlike read aloud, for example, where you have to have an awareness about how intonation affects how your delivery in repeat sentence, you will hear it and it's your duty to copy it as naturally as possible.
Definitely. Okay, so that's it with oral fluency, pronunciation and content. We need to consider all of these things. Hi all! We're going to grab a quick cup of coffee. While we're gone, go to pte.swooshenglish.com and grab your free PTE starter course, a gift to get you started on your PTE preparation. That's pte.swooshenglish.com for your free PTE starter course. Then let's go now to what we do during the listening.
Yeah, let's go into the method of how you would actually tackle this task on the day. So there is a slight period before you begin your listening of 3 seconds. Now, there's not much you can do in those 3 seconds. I just simply suggest that you're relaxed, you're ready to go, you're focused, and you are aware when you're going to hear that recording so that you can focus your listening into the words. Don't forget, you will only hear the recording once.
Exactly.
So if you miss anything, unfortunately, you will not hear again. So just be diligent and remain focused in those 3 seconds.
Definitely.
So what about during the listening? What advice would you have for the students during the listening?
Okay, so what we do here, what we pay attention to, is really going to overlap a lot with what we've already talked about.
Exactly.
In relation to paying attention to those factors that will get us the marks for our pronunciation and our oral fluency. So we're going to focus on the meaning. I think that's really important, making sure that you understand that sentence. At the end of the day, if you understand something, it's going to be much easier for you to remember it.
Yeah,
that
precisely.
makes sense, right?
Yeah, of
so
course.
if you really understand the words, understand the meaning, then that will come across when you repeat it back and it will assist your memory. So yeah, focus on the meaning of those words and possibly listen to the way the speaker divides it up into phrases, you know? And even for your own memory, you can divide it up into thought groups yourself. You know, perhaps, okay, that was the first part of it, that was the second part of it. And rather than, you know, trying to remember it as a whole chunk.
Yeah, so for example, we could say an example sentence might be the price of a camera is more expensive in developed countries, for example. That's developed into several thought groups. A price of a camera being one is very expensive being another. So there will be a slight pause. Of course, to note these thought groups, it's your duty to understand what those thought groups are and also recognize how it's structured in terms of delivery as well. And then it's best to copy it too.
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, thought groups can also have an effect on your pausing. So you really need to listen carefully to any pauses that the speaker made when they said the sentence. So, you know, did they pause throughout it and really consider that and copy it?
And try and copy that. Also, speaking about copying things, it is, as we mentioned before, it is your duty not only to copy the content, but also copy the intonation, delivery of how the response was copied. So if the speaker has risen at a certain point and then obviously fallen at the very, very end, you should also copy that intonation pattern too. It is highly essential that you do not sound monosyllabic or robotic in your response.
Definitely. I think a robotic tone is the worst thing for these speaking tasks.
Yes.
Really avoid them. At the end of the day, like we always say for read aloud as well, you know, if you were repeating it back to someone for them to understand you, would you use a robotic tone?
No, of course not.
Because if you use a robotic tone, they're going to switch off. They're not going to listen, you know? And it's not how we speak as native speakers.
And
so really avoid.
And you will lose points for pronunciation if you do deliver it in that manner.
Or your oral fluency.
And oral fluency.
Yeah, your oral fluency. So make sure that you avoid robotic tones at all costs. But just remember, you don't need to copy accents.
Oh yeah, very important.
You don't need to copy the accent of the speaker. Just try to copy their intonation and the rise and fall of their voice.
So you don't have to sound like you're speaking with the Queen's English in your response. It's not essential.
If that's what the speaker sounded like, yeah.
Is that a bad accent, you think? Yeah.
I don't know. So also grammatical structure. This is a really important point in relation to helping you with your content. Okay. So listen and take note in your head of the grammatical structure that was used in the sentence. So for example, if it's a present perfect sentence, this will really help you reconstruct the sentence when you say it back, because you can note, okay, it was present perfect, therefore I know straight away what two of the words were. For example, has plus the past participle of whatever verb it is that was said. Or if it was a conditional sentence, then you'll be able to reconstruct it based on that knowledge.
Based on that idea of the structure, then you also be more likely to fill in the gaps that you might have heard because of your knowledge of the grammar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's a really good tip, I think, to focus on what the grammatical structure is of the sentence. Yeah.
All right. So that's pretty much it for the pre-speaking listening. Now we're going to go on to our delivery of the response as well. So as we said, you should wait until that blue bar denotes that you have to speak and then start beginning your response overall. Remember, you have 15 seconds to speak, and if you hesitate mid-response, the microphone will close after 3 seconds of inactivity. So it's best, obviously, let's just get to the obvious point is, you might not be very confident in the day of the response itself. Maybe there's one particular response that you weren't sure of, and you might hesitate and be less confident and mumble your response. Please do not mumble. Remember to be as confident as you can, because if you mumble, the words that you might already get correct might not be picked up effectively, and also that will affect your delivery, your fluency, your pronunciation, your intonation, etc. as well. So always give it your best for your response. Make sure everything is picked up well.
Yes, even if you don't feel confident, pretend.
Pretend is great.
Pretend you're full of confidence and speak clearly and loudly into the camera or into the microphone. So simply begin to speak at a normal speed. Don't rush. You have 15 seconds to get through it. It's plenty of time. So just begin to speak confidently and taking note of everything that you considered while you listened.
Exactly, because depending where you're from or how you've learned English, maybe you are naturally quite a fast speaker, maybe you're naturally quite slow. Now, of course, it's not good to go too fast that you trip up your words, or you go too slow that the microphone closes. Imagine that, 3 seconds after 3 seconds of speaking naturally. So just speak at a nice, medium, comfortable pace for yourself, but also remember to pay attention to your delivery as well.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's have a look now at some tips.
Some preparation tips for this task overall.
Yes.
So one point we'd like to emphasize for this task is, of course, as we mentioned at the very beginning, your short-term memory. So you have to be able to remember the words and recall them accurately and quickly. So there are some things that you can do in your own time to help your own short-term memory. Of course, given the very short and simple nature of this task, you can listen to sentences, even in a talk, a TED Talk, an academic lecture, or a TV show, etc., in a quick succession. Pause it and try to recall it. This is a good way for you to retain and train your own short-term memory, and you can do it across a variety of different topics. Maybe you pick up new words and even practice the intonation patterns as well.
Yeah.
So short-term memory is key. You can do that by practicing it in rapid, short burst sentences online, TED Talks, academic lectures, podcasts, etc.
Yeah, and didn't you say that it'd be really good to get a friend, to give you a list or repeat a sentence to you, or give you a list of different words or whatever it is, then you have to repeat them back, and that could be a fun way as well.
You can definitely make it more collaborative and make it more fun that way.
If you have another friend who's
like
studying for the PTE exam, both of you work together, read each other a sentence out, and then repeat it back, and that will really help to train your short-term memory and get you ready for this task.
Excellent. Okay, so what about if you have difficulty recalling the way certain sentences are structured and the words? What can you do to improve your own recall in repeat sentence?
Well, I think, as we said, being able to take a note of the grammatical structure is very important. So, of course, for all the tasks, you need to work on your grammar. And again, repeat sentence is no difference. Work on your knowledge of grammatical structures and making sure that you know exactly what kind of auxiliary verb comes before the main verb or whatever, depending on the grammatical structure. And this knowledge will really help your memory as well, because you will be able to note. So always working on your knowledge of your grammar.
Great.
And of course, like we just said before, practicing these sentences and practicing being able to say them, not just in relation to remembering all the words, but remembering the words in the correct order. But I think definitely knowledge of grammar is really important in this task.
What if the student occasionally struggles with a particularly obscure accent? What can students do to improve that?
Listen to that accent. Listen to that accent a lot. What do you think?
Exactly. We want to make it aware that you're not going to hear everything in clear English, British English, or American English. There may be the occasional speaker with a strange accent. They might speak faster than you're used to. They might speak higher or lower than you're used to. Or they might even say words phonetically slightly different to how you're used to as well.
Yeah.
So please brush up on listening to a variety of different speakers with different accents, so that in case you get a Northern Irish accent, you are not stuck on the day.
Yes, definitely. That's a really good tip there as well. And also, I think really focusing on the stressed words.
Stressed words is very, very important as well.
So listening out for sentence stress and those words that, are the more important content words within a sentence, because especially with repeat sentence, if you miss any of the content words, well, then that's really going to throw you off. You're not going to be able to repeat back that sentence 100%.
Yeah.
At least with the smaller words like articles, prepositions, you can possibly fill them in based on your own grammatical knowledge. But just being able to listen out for the stressed words and even stressed syllables in order to be able to repeat back is really important.
I think stressed syllables are very important too, because you're going to have a lot of things going on that you're trying to recall during that time. You might forget exactly how the speaker actually stressed a given word. So therefore, it's very, very useful for you to understand how certain words are provided. For example, we have detached and provided. So look at how some words are pronounced to the word stress, look up any patterns and study them in your own time.
And that will be useful for, many speaking tasks.
For sure.
Especially read aloud as well, really important.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much concludes our repeat sentence podcast today. Have you got any final thoughts, anything you want to say to the students before we finish?
No, just get working on that working memory.
Working memory, practice, and be as confident as you can with this.
Yes, definitely. Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you got some really good tips and you can use them going forward with your repeat sentence practice.
We will see you again for some more PTE podcasts with Swoosh English. Thanks a lot and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you struggling with your PTE exam preparation? Are you unsure how to get that score of 65, 79, or even 90? Let us help you get there. Please go to pte.swooshenglish.com and enter discount code PTE10 in order to receive 10% discount on any course.